and welcome to episode 22 of Game of Wines, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I'm Olivia.
I'm Gabby.
And I'm Chris.
And today we will be discussing Eddard Chapter 4 in A Game of Thrones, so make sure you have read before listening.
So the news today, it's nothing really that has to do with Game of Thrones besides it's one of the actors. Emilia Clarke just sold her Venice, California home for $4.4 million.
Wow.
Apparently she lost money on it, but congratulations for selling your home.
Yeah, okay.
Lost money. Okay.
That's it.
All right. The Martin message today, he announced that the 2022 A Song of Ice and Fire calendar with art from artist Aranza Sestayo, he just released the cover of it. The calendar will feature 13 new illustrations of the world of Westeros. The cover has an illustration of Daenerys with a dragon on her lap, and it's like this beautiful stained glass in the background. Absolutely gorgeous. I will post a link so you guys can check it out. You can get this calendar starting July 2021, but pre-ordering is open now, so I will put the link in the show notes so you guys can go check it out and order one if you'd like.
Cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, so we don't seem to be getting a lot of listener answers for our discussion questions, so we've decided that we're not going to have it be a regular segment. It just doesn't seem to be working for our podcast right now, which is totally okay. But if you guys do end up answering them when we post them, we will read them. We just wanted to let you guys know that it won't be a regular segment if we don't get answers. Yeah. Like, if we don't have any answers, we're not just going to read the questions for y'all. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, but feel free to answer them after the episodes. And last episode, we were with John at Castle Black after a fight that he had with some of his fellow brothers of the Night's Watch. He sort of got his ass handed to him by Noye and realizes that he's been acting like he's better than everyone. He has another conversation with Tyrion as well, and he finds out that his brother Bran has woken up.
Mm-hmm.
Today, however, Ned just entered King's Landing and is quickly summoned to do his new job. And he learns some interesting information while he's doing his new job. And then also, Baelish has a surprise for him, and some serious weighing thoughts are made.
So, for our wine, we already have it poured. We actually we did the Spumante. I believe it's Andre Spumante.
Yeah.
It's the champagne that we actually just won our little debate on Be Hero Fights. We've posted that everywhere, so you guys can check that out. We also thought it would be kind of a good one for the, in the spirit of the new year.
Yes.
So it's a pretty
celebratory.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And
the wine rule for today, remember we're doing one wine rule from John Bonet's book, The New Wine Rules. So today's rule number 2 is forget the best wines, drink the good wines. The author states that over the past 20 years, the best wines have become far too expensive. Now, this isn't to say that you shouldn't drink them if you can, but we shouldn't worry about buying the best wine. The best can be good, but not all the time. There are thousands of very good wines that have not been named the best, so to speak. The author suggests learning everything you can about these somewhat forgotten wines. And then he ends this rule with saying, interesting and well chosen is better than fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, don't feel bad if you're drinking a $2 bottle of Arbor Mist.
Or you got some Franzia in a bag.
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get into it.
Let's get started. This is going to be a little bit of a longer one.
Yeah.
So, Eddard him and his party just got back to King's Landing. He enters the Red Keep, sore, tired, and hungry, and irritable. Probably from his long-ass journey from the north. I wanted to go over what the Red Keep was. The Red Keep is the castle on Aegon's Hill in King's Landing. And remember, a few episodes back when we described King's Landing, there were 3 hills on which Aegon built King's Landing, and Aegon's Hill is the highest one of the 3. And that's where the Red Keep is. And the Red Keep contains the Iron Throne, and this is where the royal family lives. Currently, it's the Baratheons. So, Eddard's back from his long trip. All he wants is a hot bath, a warm meal, and a soft bed. But no. Grantmeister Pycelle's steward came up and said that they are holding an urgent small council meeting. Ned says it would be convenient to hold it tomorrow, but eventually he was like, all right, whatever, I'll attend. I'm going to get into what the small council and who Grand Maester Pycelle is in just a minute, but there's a little bit more of dialogue here that I wanted to go through. He tells Pycelle's steward to give him just a few minutes to change and freshen up before heading to the meeting. The steward says, of course, and informs him that they have given him Lord Arryn's former chambers. And remember, Lord Arryn was the Hand of the King before Ned. And then he says that he shall have Ned's things taken there immediately. On his way to the chambers, Ned sees his own steward, Van Poole, and we remember him from Winterfell. He served under Eddard there and traveled to King's Landing with Eddard, and his daughter was Jane Poole, which was one of Sansa's very best friends. Ned informs Poole of the small council meeting and instructs him to help his daughters find their bedchambers and to make sure they stay there. And he explicitly states that Arya is not to go exploring. He knows his daughters very well.
Yeah.
He then turns back to Pycelle's steward and tells him that he needs appropriate garments as his wagon carrying all his belongings are still straggling through the city. So the steward heads out to do his bidding, and Ned heads to the chambers to freshen up, and then after that he heads to the small council meeting. Now, before we dig into this meeting, I'm going to go over exactly what a small council is, all the positions, and who holds those positions. So, the small council is a group of advisors which advises the king based on their expertise. And there's 7 different positions with 7 different expertises. So, as we know, the Hand of the King is currently Eddard Stark. And we've kind of discussed what the Hand of the King does, so I'm going to kind of skip over it, but basically the Hand of the King is the chief advisor to the king and the head of the small council. Next we have Grand Maester Pycelle. He is the head advisor on Masters of Lore and Wisdom. Pycelle himself has served in King's Landing for over 40 years. He has sparse hair that runs around his bald spotted head. He has a long snowy beard that runs down to his chest and a broad stomach. Pycelle often strokes the beard, which hides his small mouth, missing teeth, warts, and wrinkles.
Ew.
I know. He has pale, rheumy eyes. I don't know what that means. I think like beady, I would say. That's how he looked in the show anyways. His maester's chain consists of 24 heavy chains wound together to stretch from neck to breast. Its links contain brass, bronze, copper, iron, gold, lead, platinum, silver, teal, and tin. And it's decorated with amethyst, black pearls, emeralds, garnets, and rubies. I don't know if you guys remember, but a few, like in the beginning of our podcast,
quite a while ago, yeah,
we talked about like the different meanings of the different types of chains and stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll post a link to what those mean again, just as a refresher. I don't really want to go through it now because it's a lot, but
it is a lot.
I will post that so you guys can peruse. Maybe we'll do an episode just on Maester's stuff, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
Pycelle is known to bend the vows of his order to suit his needs, including the needs of the flesh and dabbling in poisons and politics with a skill few masters dare to approach. He also enjoys sweetened iced milk.
Okay.
He's an interesting fella.
Yeah.
Next is the Master of Coin, which is Lord Petyr Baelish, aka Littlefinger, and we already know about him from last episode. The Master of Coin is the head of treasury and finances for the kingdom. Next, we have the Master of Laws, and this position is held by Lord Renly Baratheon. The Master of Laws is overseer of law and justice for the kingdom. And we've already kind of discussed Renly, but just a refresher that he is the younger brother of Robert and Stannis Baratheon. And speaking of Stannis Baratheon, we have the Master of Ships. So Stannis is the overseer of the Royal Navy. And we haven't really talked about Stannis, so I'm going to do a quick overview of him. He is the second son of House Baratheon. Robert is his older brother, and Renly is his younger. He is a large man, very tall, broad shoulders, and sinewy. What does sinewy mean? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Stannis has dark blue eyes and a heavy brow. His head has only a fringe of black hair, like the shadow of a crown, and he has a close-cropped beard across his large jaw. His face has a tightness to it like cured leather, and he has hollow cheeks and thin, pale lips. It said that he is serious, stubborn, rarely forgiving, hard man with a strong sense of duty and justice. He is proud and protective and is an accomplished commander, sailor, and warrior with no thirst for battle. So no wonder he was made master of ships. Sounds like he's done a lot of that in his life.
He knows how to do it.
Yes. And then we have the Master of Whispers, which is Varys, and we already know who Varys is. He's the eunuch that has all of his little spies.
Little birds.
Yes, his little birds. So makes sense that he's the Master of Whispers. The Master of Whispers is the spy master and the head of intelligence.
Like the CIA.
Yeah, I guess so. And then last but not least, we have the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, which is Lord Barristan Selmy. We did talk about him a little bit. He's the one that Bran wanted to meet so badly when he got to King's Landing. Commander of the Kingsguard is the chief bodyguard of the king and advisor in martial affairs. So that's the small council. Now we're going to get into the actual small council meeting. So Ned enters the small council chambers and he's describing how they look. So he says they're richly furnished, carpets are all over the floor. In one corner, there's hundreds of paintings of beasts. The other walls have tapestries hung on them, and the door has Valyrian sphinxes carved into it.
Fancy.
So a very, ornate room.
Yeah.
As soon as Ned enters the room, Lord Varys, I thought this was funny. In the book, it said that Lord Varys is the council member that Ned liked the least. And he is the first one to approach Ned and said, "Lord Stark, I was grievous sad to hear about your troubles on the King's Road. We have all been visiting the Sept to light candles for Prince Joffrey. I pray for his recovery." Which...
Whatever.
Ew. Who cares? So Ned comes back with this awesome reply, and he goes, "Your gods have heard you. The prince grows stronger every day." Kind of a little bit passive-aggressive.
Yeah.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. He's like, "Yeah, but what about my daughters?" He moves on and walks over to Renly, who greets him and says, "I see you have arrived safely, Lord Stark." Ned says that he looks just like Robert, and Littlefinger chimes in and says, "Yeah, but Renly's better dressed." Littlefinger then greets Ned and says, "I have hoped to meet you for some years, Lord Stark. No doubt Lady Catelyn has mentioned me." So I feel like this is kind of important. This is the first time Ned's meeting Littlefinger, who was a lifelong friend of Catelyn, his wife. Kind of a big deal. Ned says, "Yes, she has," and then says, "I understand you knew my brother Brandon as well." And Littlefinger says, "Rather too well. I still carry a token of his esteem. Did Brandon speak of me too?" And Ned says, "Often and with some heat." So, yeah.
Trying to take his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously he's not going to be happy with you. Mm-hmm. There were a couple more jabs at each other, and then Ned cuts off Baelish and says, "Maester Pycelle, I trust you are well?" Maester Pycelle says, "Yes, but we should start this meeting already." Because he's afraid that he's going to fall asleep if he doesn't. Everyone takes their seats, with the king's seat being empty, and then Ned apologizes for keeping them all waiting. Then Varys says, "You are the king's hand. We serve at your pleasure, Lord Stark." Eddard had a strong feeling that he did not belong here. He remembered what Robert had said to him in the crypts of Winterfell. And he had said, "I am surrounded by flatterers and fools," speaking of his small council. He looked at everyone and wondered which were the flatterers and which were the fools. And then Ned was like, "Wait, there's only 5 of you. Shouldn't there be 2 more? And shouldn't Robert be here too for the meeting?" Varys then informs Ned that Stannis went to Dragonstone shortly after the king went north, and Sir Barristan is with the king. Ned suggests that they should wait till Barristan returns, but Renly said that it would be a long wait and that they shouldn't wait for him at all. And then Renly says, "All this business of coin and crops and justice bores my royal brother to tears, so it falls to us to govern the realm. He does send us a command from time to time." So it seems like, I don't know what you guys think, but it seems like Robert is a very absent king.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And leaves the...
It's an understatement.
Yeah, it leaves all of the important stuff to his council.
His council, yeah.
Which I feel like he should be more present if he's the king, but...
Yep. Agreed.
Anywho, Renly then pulls out a rolled up paper and says, "This morning he commanded me to ride ahead with all haste and ask Grand Maester Pycelle to convene this council at once. He has an urgent task for us." So then Littlefinger pulls out a piece of paper, which has this urgent task, whatever this is, and hands it to Ned. Ned opens it, and this is his urgent command. The king says that we must stage a great tournament in honor of Ned's appointment as Hand of the King. Which, if we all know Ned, this is probably not something that he wants to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Nope.
He's there to do his work. He's there to do his business. He doesn't want to be...
Showboating.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want tournaments thrown for him, but whatever. Then Littlefinger asks how much this is all going to cost. Ned reads from the letter, 40,000 golden dragons to the champion, 20,000 to the man who comes second, another 20,000 to the winner of the melee, and 10,000 to the victor of the archery competition. So Littlefinger's kind of doing the math, and he adds it up to 90,000 gold pieces, just for the prizes. That is not including the costs of food, cooks, carpenters, servants, singers, jugglers, and so on. Then Maester Pycelle asks if the treasury will bear this expense. And this is where things kind of get a little concerning for Ned. Littlefinger laughs and is like, "What treasury? You know that the treasury has been empty for years." Then he informs the council that they will have to borrow money for the tournament, stating that the Lannisters would be willing to pay and that they already owe them 3 million dragons, so what will another 100,000 or so be?
Dang.
So they're 3 million dragons in debt to the Lannisters.
Yeah.
Okay?
Crown is.
It gets worse. So Ned is shocked and says, "Are you claiming that the crown is 3 million gold pieces in debt?" And Littlefinger says, "Oh, nay, nay. They are more than 6 million gold pieces in debt. The Lannisters are just the biggest part of it. But we have also borrowed from Lord Tyrell, the Iron Banks of Braavos, and several Tyroshi trading cartels, not to mention that he has turned to the faith for it, also for help. So they are 6 million gold pieces in debt, yet the king still wants to hold this tournament for Ned." What?
Yeah, that's insane.
And so Ned was also astonished and was like, "Didn't Aerys Targaryen leave a treasury flowing with gold? How did this happen?" And Littlefinger's kind of just shrugging and says, "The master of coin finds the money and the king in the hand spend it." And Ned was like, "Wait a second. I know Lord Aaron, and there is no way that he let this happen." Pycelle agrees and says, "Yes, Aaron was prudent, but the king seldom listened to his advice and just spent the money anyways." And then Renly chimes in and says, "My brother loves tournaments and feasts, and he loathes what he calls counting coppers. So he doesn't really care that they're in debt."
Yeah.
6 million pieces of gold in debt. Are you
that's
kidding?
Insane.
Okay.
Yep. So Ned just kind of says, "Okay, I'm going to have to talk with the king because this tourney was an extravagance that the realm could not afford, obviously."
Yeah.
And Lord Renly basically told him that he could speak to him all he wants, but they should probably still make their plans because if he knows his brother, he knows he's not going to take the advice.
Right.
So Ned kind of snaps back a bit too harshly, telling him that they can just leave that to do another day. And he kind of catches on to how harsh he was being by the looks on the other people's faces, which I'm sure would have been obvious if he had just snapped at them.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of makes a mental note that he has to remember that he's no longer in Winterfell where only the king stood higher, but here now he was just the first among equals. So he had a whole group where he didn't necessarily, he did stand over them, but not necessarily in a big way. He then kind of asks for forgiveness from all of them and says that he's super tired, obviously, from his journey. And he calls a halt for the day and says that they can resume when they're fresher. And he didn't ask for their consent. He just got up and walked out.
I mean, he's in charge of the small council, so he can do what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. So then outside, wagons and riders were still pouring into the castle gates, and the yard was chaos. And Ned was told that the king had still not yet arrived. So after what happened with the kids at the Trident, the Starks had been riding ahead of the entire group to separate themselves from the tension that they now had with the Lannisters.
That's probably a good choice.
And not now had. This isn't necessarily new, but it was more fresh, I guess.
Yeah.
Robert had barely been seen on the journey, and the talk was that was because he was traveling in the huge wheelhouse, drunk as often as not, and that this would put him hours behind, but he would still get to King's Landing too soon for Ned's liking. Oh, gosh. All Ned had to do was look at Sansa, and he could feel the rage stirring inside of him once again. The last fortnight of their journey had been miserable. Sansa blamed Arya and said that it should have been Nymeria that died. Arya was lost after hearing about the butcher's boy. Sansa cried herself to sleep. And Ned dreamed of a frozen hell reserved for the Starks of Winterfell.
Oh my god. That's just sad.
Yeah,
that was rough.
I bet that whole... I couldn't even...
Could you imagine that journey?
That would have sucked. So he was walking towards what he thought was the Tower of the Hand when Littlefinger kind of just appeared in front of him and goes, "You're going the wrong way, Stark. Come with me."
Yes, sir.
Ned follows hesitantly into a tower, down a stair, across a small sunken courtyard, and along a deserted corridor. "This is not the way to my chambers," Ned said.
I've already been there. I know.
Baelish kind of snaps back and goes, "Did I say it was?"
We ain't going there.
"I'm leading you to the dungeons to slit your throat and seal your corpse up behind a wall. We have no time for this, Stark. Your wife awaits."
My what? What?
And then, Ned's just like, "What game are you playing, Littlefinger? Catelyn's at Winterfell, hundreds of leagues away from here." And amusement glittered in Baelish's eyes. I kind of liked that little description because I literally, pictured it. I pictured Baelish's little worm face.
He's like, "I know
all
something.
Excited. Yeah.
I know something you don't know."
So he goes, "Oh, then it appears someone has managed an astonishing impersonation. For the last time, come, or don't. I'll keep it for myself."
Baelish. Because he knows. He knows about
He's very good
Baelish's love for Catelyn.
Yep. So Ned continues to follow, and he kind of was just wondering if the day was ever going to end.
He just wants to go to sleep.
Yeah, he literally just wants to go to sleep. They continued on outside of the castle and even climbed down a rocky bluff. When they got to the bottom, Baelish had horses waiting for them to ride the rest of the way. So they rode for a while, and when Baelish finally stops in front of a ramshackle building of 3 stories, timbered, and its windows were bright with lamplight in the gathering dusk, it had a ornate oil lamp on a heavy chain with a globe of leaded red glass next to the door. So I would assume that would kind of be the giveaway that it's a brothel. So obviously angry, Ned dismounts and goes, "A brothel? You brought me all this way to take me to a brothel?" And Baelish just goes, "Your wife is inside."
Ouch.
So that's the last straw for Ned. He slams Petyr back against the wall and shoves his dagger up under the little pointed chin beard.
Oh my god.
And he even says, "Brandon was too kind to you." So, he's mad. He mad.
Clearly.
Ned hears footsteps behind him when an urgent voice calls out saying, "My lord, no, he speaks the truth." And Ned turns around and sees an old white-haired man hurrying towards them. He was dressed in brown rough spun, and the soft flesh under his chin wobbled as he ran.
Oh, that was funny.
Ned starts to go, "This is no business of yours," when suddenly recognition hits him, and he kind of just goes, "Sir Roderick?"
"What are you doing here?"
"What?"
"Where's your beard?"
Yeah. Castle nods and says, "Your lady awaits you upstairs." And Ned's lost at this point and said, "Cat's truly here? This isn't some strange jape of Littlefinger's?" And he sheathed, man. Obviously I can't say that word, guys.
He put his blade away.
He puts his... Is it?
He sheathed his blade.
He sheathed
You got it.
his blade.
Okay.
And Baelish goes, would that if it were, Stark, follow me and try to look a shade more lecherous and a shade less like the king's hand. It would not do to have you recognized. Perhaps you could fondle a breast or two just in passing.
Baelish.
Blend.
Blend in. Just fondle a couple breasts.
Just act like a weirdo.
So then they went inside a crowded common room where a fat woman was singing bawdy songs. Bawdy songs. While young, pretty women in linen shifts and wisps of colored silk pressed themselves against their lovers and dandled on their laps.
Wow.
It is a brothel.
It is a brothel.
Anyway, no one paid Ned the least bit of attention when he was in there, which is kind of funny because...
He's the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they kind of have their hands full.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. That's a knee slapper right there.
I can't. Anyway, Roderick waited below while Littlefinger led Ned up to the 3rd floor. And inside, Catelyn was waiting. She cried out when she saw him and ran to him and embraced him fiercely. So cute.
We let it so good.
Ned kind of whispers, and they said he whispered in wonderment. He goes, my lady. I don't know why. I just thought that was funny. I just picture him going, my lady.
So honorable, it's like disgusting.
Yeah, literally like ew. And I'm assuming he's whispering in wonderment because he obviously still can't believe that she's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's real.
Yeah. And Littlefinger goes, oh, very good. You recognized her. I just felt like, dude, shut up, please.
He's just a quick wit.
The sarcasm. Goodness.
Oh, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Never.
So Kat says that she feared that Ned would never come. And she says that Petyr had been bringing her reports and that she had heard about the trouble with the kids on the journey to King's Landing, and asks how the girls are. And Ned just replies that they're both in mourning and full of anger. And he's like, Kat, I don't understand. Why are you in King's Landing? What happened? Is it Bran? Is he ... And we all know what he's thinking when
Dead.
he was...
Yeah, he's thinking that he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, that's where your mind is going to jump anyway. I mean, I probably would think the same thing. And Kat just tells him that it is Bran, but it's not as you think. So, again, Ned is lost.
He needs to go to bed. He's like really slow this
So
chapter.
out of it. He goes, then how? Why are you here, my love? What is this place? So Baelish, being Baelish...
Oh my gosh.
Again chimes in and says, just what it appears, a brothel.
Thank you. Thank you, Baelish.
She goes, can you think of a less likely place to find a Catelyn Tully?
I mean,
He smiled.
Good point.
true.
And says that, as it chances, I own this particular establishment, so arrangements were made very easily. I am most anxious to keep the Lannisters from learning that Kat is here in King's Landing. Why? Ned asked. He then saw his wife's hands, and said that the way she held them, and the raw red scars, and the stiffness of her last two fingers on her left is like what gave it away. So he says, he takes her hands and he's like, you've been hurt. And he turns them over so he can see like the inside of them. And he's like, gods, those are deep cuts, a gash from a sword, or how did this happen, my lady?
Pause for a second. So, are they still not telling Ned that Bran's awake? Like,
Yeah.
he's like still left in
That's
the dark.
a good point.
Do you know what I'm saying? They just kind of brushed over that, and now they're talking about how she got injured and like I'm assuming the
'cause he
dagger
didn't
and
even-
stuff. Like,
Does Catelyn know that he's awake? Because he woke up after Catelyn was already gone. Cat doesn't know he's awake, and they can't send a raven to Catelyn
You're
when
right.
she's there.
Landing.
so she doesn't know right
They
now
don't know.
that.
I'm sure Ned is about to find out.
Okay.
He'll probably get
You're
because
right.
John got one.
You're right. Okay.
So,
Thank
no,
you.
Catelyn doesn't know. He woke
Okay.
up after she
That
So
died.
makes
Catelyn
sense.
doesn't
No.
know, therefore she can't tell him.
Yeah.
Got
that
it.
makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Fair enough. So, anyway, after he asks how it happens, Kat slides a dagger out from under her cloak and places it in his hands. and says that this blade was sent to open Bran's throat and spill his life's blood. Ned's head jerked up when he heard that, and all he really gets out is, but who... Why would...
He's like half asleep.
Yeah, literally, I just hear him like, what? Huh? She puts a finger up to his lips and literally just says, let me tell it all, my love. It will go faster that way. Listen.
Basically, shut up and listen.
Stop asking questions. Don't interrupt me.
Yeah.
So he listened and she told it all. Bran's wolf had saved his life. And what was it that Jon had said when they found the pups in the snow? Your children were meant to have these pups, my lord. And he had just killed Sansa's. And for what? Was it guilt he was feeling or fear? If the gods had sent the wolves, what had he just done?
So, okay, I just want to put in again. The only people that know Bran is awake right now
Or Jon.
are Jon
Robb.
and Robb and all the people at Winterfell.
I would imagine that probably...
Like
I would be surprised if they didn't know it already. Like the little birds.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they wouldn't know and he wouldn't say anything.
I am sure that Varys knows.
But he did not tell Ned yet. Because...
I wouldn't be, like, surprised.
Yeah.
Ned's probably going to get a raven. So.
Bran's parents don't know.
No.
His sisters don't know.
Nope.
Anything.
Only Jon knows.
Only Jon and Robb.
Yeah.
And little Rickon. But he's like 3.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really know what's going on anyways.
The wolf knows.
The wolf knows, yeah. Just send the wolf all the way up down to the south.
Yeah,
let everyone know.
Alright, so then Ned's thoughts go to the dagger, and he's kind of confused. He's like, why would Tyrion even want to harm Bran? He's never done anything to him or anything. And Littlefinger said there's no way that Tyrion could have acted alone when he did this. This had to be something bigger. And then the thought, grows through Ned's head. He's like, the thought that the queen or king can be involved irked him because he's like, okay, like maybe the queen, but not Robert. Yeah, not Robert. And then he's like, wait. And his thoughts go back to the talk that him and Robert had about sending hired knives to kill Daenerys. And then he goes to like, oh yeah, he also killed all of the Targaryen children, and butchered them in the streets like they were just animals. So,
not to mention, Robert had been talking about wanting to kill Daenerys, who was a child. Yeah,
that's what I just said.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Can I start that one over?
No, it's okay. I'll cut that out.
Sorry. Dork.
Yeah. So he also killed the Targaryen children and butchered them like animals. Littlefinger says most likely the king did not know. At least that's his opinion. And then Ned had thoughts of the butcher's boy about him literally being split in half. It's like, okay, well, clearly he's able to do this.
He's had the thoughts.
And then he goes, well, we have the knife as evidence. And Littlefinger goes, you do have evidence, but that knife actually cuts both ways. If you think about it. If you say that it's the imp's, he's going to say that it was stolen. Mm-hmm. And if you accuse the king of treason then, or the queen, you'll dance with ill and pain.
Who is the king's justice.
Who's the king's justice, so you'll be killed.
Yeah.
Littlefinger goes, I think you should just toss it in the river. And I think it's really funny what Ned says to that. And he goes, I'm a Stark of Winterfell. My son lies crippled, perhaps dying. He would be dead, perhaps Catelyn with him, but for a wolf pup we found in the snow. If you truly believe I could forget that, you're as big a fool now as you were when you took up swords against my brother.
Ooh. Okay, so
that was good.
Starks are going through it.
But I think it's funny how Ned's just like, do you really think, like, I literally just found wolves in the snow, and then that saved my wife and my child just by happenstance. You think I'm just going to throw away something that I have just by happenstance? I'm going to hold on to everything. I'm going to be a pack rat right now.
Right.
And gain as much evidence as I possibly can. And you're an idiot. And Baelish kind of comes back and says, I may be a fool, but at least I'm alive and your brother's not. And Baelish is like, I'm getting tired of trying to keep you Starks alive. And the only reason I'm helping you is because of Catelyn. And for some reason, I think it's kind of funny, he's like, some reason Catelyn has grown a liking to you, so I guess I have to like you. I have to like you. I have to help you. And Catelyn chimes in and says, also, I told him about how we think Jon Arryn's death is also something, that needs to be looked into because we don't think it's just as they say it is going.
Right.
That it is.
Right.
There's more to the story.
There is. There's something else going on there. And then Ned asks, okay, so does Varys know all this stuff? Like, did you? And Catelyn goes, well, I didn't tell him. I'm not an idiot. I wouldn't tell him all this stuff. But that man scares me because she talks about a little conversation that she had with somebody else, and Varys already knew the conversation before anyone else. She's like, so I don't even think it's just his little birds. I think that man is, like, possessed or something. She's like, there's no way that he would have known this stuff, and yet he does. And Baelish chimes in and goes, leave Varys to me. He wouldn't want his little secrets out either. So I have more on him than he has on you or whatever. So,
or so you think.
And so you think. And he's like, just don't worry about him. I got him.
Yeah.
And so Ned goes, okay, Catelyn, you need to return to Winterfell at once. You need to go back there. You can't be here. And Catelyn's like, well, I wanted to see the girls. And Baelish goes, that is super unwise. The Red Keep is full of more spies than anywhere else in the kingdom.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You can't go see the girls.
And the brothel she's in might as well be as too. Like, we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know. And so Catelyn agrees and is like, okay, like, I understand, like, it sucks. But, so she hugs Ned, and Baelish jokes, and he's like, do you guys need a bed chamber or something? I can leave, I could just go. And Ned just kind of tells him to shut up. And Catelyn grabs Baelish's hands and thanks him for everything that he's done and that she won't forget it. And then Ned also goes, well, thank you, Lord Baelish. And he goes, oh, well, that's a treasure.
Gotta hate him.
He's so sarcastic.
He's just so wormy.
Yeah. Then Ned tells Catelyn to send word to the northern houses to refortify themselves and arm up in case there is a war. And I'm going to read a passage from the book just because it was just so much in there. War? The fear was plain on Catelyn's face. It will not come to that, Ned promised her, praying it was true. He took her in his arms again. The Lannisters are merciless in the face of weakness, and Aerys Targaryen learned to his sorrow, but they would not dare attack the north without all the power of the realm behind them. And they shall not have. I must play out this fool's masquerade as if nothing is amiss. Remember why I came here, my love. If I find proof that the Lannisters murdered Jon Arryn. So, he's basically saying, like, okay, they'd have to be complete idiots to attack the north without the rest of the realm helping them. The north is too big. I think we've covered this before. But he's like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do some investigating. I'm going to go through some stuff and see what I can find. You need to go back to where it's safe in the north, where she's actually protected. And Ned says that he comes to the conclusion, he's like, I just have to go talk to the king. He's my friend, and all I can do is I can hope and pray that he's the man I once knew and not the man I fear he has become.
So he's afraid that if he goes and talks to him, that he'll accuse him of treason?
Well,
right?
No, but he's just saying, I hope that he's still my friend.
Yeah.
I hope that he's still...
Not just a king.
Yeah, not just a king and not being, torn up by these Lannisters or whatever. I hope that he is the man that I remember him to be.
That I grew
and
up
not
with.
The one, and not the one that I fear he has become.
Right.
So that's how the chapter ends. So now we know Ned's going to stay there. And
so we're wondering if Catelyn's going to stay or go.
No, Catelyn's going to leave.
Catelyn's leaving.
So Catelyn agreed she's going to leave. She's going to Winterfell.
Okay.
She agreed with that. She's not going to see the girls. Ned's going to stay and do some investigating. And Baelish is going to help him.
Got it.
So.
And we don't know where the king is right now.
Yeah, the king...
He's just off drinking in his...
He's still on his way.
I just think it's funny that Ned got there, did a small council meeting, freshened up, and the
got the girls to their chambers.
Yeah, and the king still is not there.
Traveled all the way to a brothel.
Exactly.
Like how far? I mean, he might have been there by then. I don't know.
True.
Who knows?
Still.
Yeah. So the questions that we have this week, and we're just going to discuss these. If you guys want to answer them, feel free to, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So, what do you think the significance of the throne being in debt to the Lannisters is? What do you think about that? I think that plays a bigger part than...
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm trying to form my thoughts here. Because that's a loaded question.
Well, because... How do you...
I need a minute for that.
What if the Lannisters cash in on that?
Right.
Yeah,
How-
because they
what do you
wouldn't... Well,
cash
what if
in
they
on that
wouldn't...
with land? It would be lands, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I think that it has to do with oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to form my thoughts here because I have a thought in my head.
I have another thought.
What?
I wonder if that's the reason why Robert was going to make Jaime Warden of the East.
Because they're so in debt.
They're so in debt that they owe them. They're like, well, what if you forgive some of this debt if I make him Warden of the East?
I also think the Lannisters are so willing to give money to the throne
For a reason.
so that they can get
To the throne.
favors back.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think the Lannisters hold a lot of power even though they're not the royal family.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they are.
No,
Big chunk of them.
Just
Yeah.
Cersei.
Cersei, and then Jaime's there. Because Jaime's in the Kingsguard.
Yeah, but he's not part of the royal family.
No. But they're in it.
I'm saying the Lannisters
Yeah.
are not the royal family. The Baratheons are.
Yeah.
But the Lannisters are kind of just right above on their shoulder.
It literally
here's
sounds
money.
like
Here's
they're
money.
paying them. They're paying them to get paid back with more power.
And
Yeah.
more favors.
I agree.
Money holds a lot of power in
Yeah.
the realm.
Green makes the world spin.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second question I have is, why is Baelish hiding Cat in a brothel? And I think he pretty much
I
answered
think,
that.
I was
Like
going to
he
say,
said.
he said because it's the last place Catelyn would be thought to be,
Yeah.
is a brothel.
You're not going to go looking for Catelyn Tully.
No.
In a brothel.
But I also think it's foolish at the same time because there's a lot of people there.
What if
It just takes one to look and go, isn't that,
I was gonna
isn't that
say,
Catelyn?
What if Pycelle's little dirty butt came in and saw Cat?
Yeah.
Little dirty butt.
Or any of the little birds. Well, the little birds already know.
gonna
She's
say-
there, but
I have a feeling Varys knows, though.
still. Oh, Varys knows. For sure.
There's no way.
Yeah.
He
Varys knows
doesn't.
everything.
So my next question is, what do you think of Ned's decided course of action to go to the king? Do you think that it's smart of him to go to the king and talk to him about it, or stupid? And, well, that's the first part of that. So let's see about that.
I think he should have thought about it more before deciding to
Yeah.
go to the king.
I think
he
he
needs
should
to
do
weigh
his
the
research
pros and
before.
cons and make sure that he's not gonna accuse Ned of treason. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it's either smart nor stupid. I just think he needs more time to figure out who the king actually is right now.
Yeah.
I think
how to approach
I hope he
it.
doesn't go straight to him. I hope he
Right.
does some research first.
Right.
But he just, I don't know if he's going to or not.
Right.
I think that it's foolhardy in the sense that Ned is almost assuming that people are like him.
Right.
Like the honor thing.
Yeah.
He's just assuming that Robert's like him.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Especially when he's the king now. He can do whatever he wants.
It's pretty obvious with people, trying to kill children when they're sleeping and all that honor is really taking a back seat
Honor
here.
is dead.
Yeah.
So, but not to say Ned needs to get rid of his honor.
Right.
Yeah. And the second part is, do you think that he should have listened to Littlefinger and tossed the blade?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think you should have tossed it. It's evidence.
To me, that's just, Peter's literally saying just to forget about it. And I guess I understand, he doesn't want to start those, all of those problems to get started, and, he doesn't want Ned to potentially be accused of treason, but to me, there's still a possibility that, said assassin, since they were killed and never came back, and Bran is still alive, whoever sent said assassin is going to find out that Bran is still alive and could send another one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So if they don't address it, and if he were to just ignore it,
Yeah.
it could happen again.
Ned had mentioned that too. That was another reason why he told Catelyn
Yeah.
that she should go back to Winterfell.
Yeah.
is because you don't know. I mean, they're going to know that it didn't succeed because Bran's alive.
And she needs
So.
to be in Winterfell to help out Rob, who has no idea what the hell he's doing.
So far, he's doing pretty good.
I
He's
know,
doing well,
but still.
He's still
he needs his
14.
mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
running
14.
a whole the north. What?
The whole north.
Of the whole north. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole the north.
I think that one of the things that kind of got me, like, kind of, I don't know, heated. I guess heated probably isn't the word. Maybe scared was him telling all the North to start arming. And, like, he took...
Robert? Or Rob?
What?
Rob?
No, Ned. He told Catelyn to send word to these people.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, he told them to, like, you need to get more... Like, I didn't read the whole list, but you need to get more archers. You need to refortify. You need to make sure that everything is solid right now. And so...
Creepy.
Yeah. So, that just freaked me out. But, that's all the questions I have
Awesome.
for right now.
All right, guys. Make sure you follow us on our social media. So on Facebook, we are Game of Wines, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. On Instagram and Twitter, we are Game of Wines 1. On YouTube, we are Game of Wines podcast. And then on TikTok, we are also Game of Wines 1. That is it for this week's episode of Game of Wines. Next episode, we will be discussing Tyrion Chapter 3. So make sure you read that chapter before next episode. Thank you for listening.